a suspected white supremacist gets lenient sentence. It's what we do, folks, right? Some crimes are worth more ire than others. 63-year-old David Allen Emanuel, Florida man who tried to run over 6 Black men after spewing racist slurs at the group, sentenced to just 12 months plus 1 day in federal prison. That was on Thursday. Reportedly, this is far less time than what the Justice Department pursued. I would think you're dangerous. Try to run over 6 people? And hate, racism was your motivating factor? Emanuel was sentenced on 6 counts of hate crimes after attempting to run over Marvin Dunn, his son, and 4 other Black men September 6, 2022. Department of Justice wanted a more substantial prison term of between 5 and 6 years behind bars. Emanuel still has to face a state charge where he has been indicted on a count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill. Emanuel, retired clam farmer, Levy County, North Central Florida, must surrender to report to prison no later than noon, January 2nd, the judge said. He was also ordered to serve 2 years of supervised release after he finishes his prison term. Fresh Take Florida with the details here. Dunn, who is a Florida historian, and the other Black men were surveying Dunn's Rosewood property, scouting land to build a memorial for the 1923 Rosewood Massacre, enlightening, educating, preserving history, marking the spot. That's what they did to deserve this. Rosewood Massacre was a racially motivated massacre of Black people and the destruction of a Black town that took place during the first week of January 1923 in rural Levy County, Florida. At least 6 Black people were killed, but eyewitness accounts suggested a higher death toll of 27 to 150. We'll go with that. If you know anything about America's dance with racism and killing. Details of the incident, according to DOJ evidence during the July 26 trial, proved that after Emanuel found the men surveying land, he shouted racial slurs, expletives at them, including effing N, telling the men to get out of these woods before driving a pickup truck directly at the group, nearly striking one of them. News One filling in the color for us. During the trial, a witness also testified that Emanuel admitted that he came at those expletives and that he would have expletive up all those Black expletives. Another witness testified that the defendant came within inches of striking one of the victims and that one victim nearly lost his life that day. Although sentencing seemed light for a man charged with 6 counts of hate crimes, the DOJ stressed in a press release that there was no place for racially motivated hate crimes in America. News One, again, that's not true. That's not true. What was in the press release? There's a place, and we've seen it too many times, haven't we? Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division said, racially motivated hate crimes run contrary to our values as Americans and simply have no place in our society today. I like the work she's doing. That's not true. And I apologize. I like the work she's doing. But I think truth at all times is warranted in these times, particularly. America's born on racism, right? We've been stewing. It's just been brewing and stewing in a slow crock pot cooker of it since the beginning. But I'll read the statement. This defendant violently and callously sought to strike a group of Black men with his truck because of their race. As we mark 100 years since the horrific 1923 Rosewood Massacre, the Justice Department stands resolute in its commitment to holding accountable those who commit violent, racially motivated hate crimes in our country. Special Agent in Charge Sherry E. Unks of the FBI Jacksonville Field Office also condemned the racist attack, quoting, "No one should ever fear they could be targeted in an act of violence based on how they look, where they're from, or any part of their identity. Hate crimes are not only an attack on the victim, they are meant to threaten and intimidate an entire community. And because of their wide-ranging impact, we will continue to work to seek justice for victims and their communities. In a letter submitted last week to the judge, Dunn asked the court to show Emanuel mercy during sentencing, which could have helped lead to his lenient sentence. For me, my faith requires forgiveness, and so I must, Dunn wrote. Race is the thorn in our collective side, the unmovable rock in our common path. For America to become whole, the thorns and rocks must be removed. The victims in this case are hopeful that in our plea for mercy for Mr. Emanuel and his family, we're taking an important step toward the goal of removing these obstacles to healing. Despite Dunn's request for leniency, Emanuel himself expressed little remorse for his actions. I didn't do a goddamn thing. Get treated like this over an effing N, man. I didn't do a damn thing. Son of a B. I should have run them MFs, noted federal prosecutors during the trial. There's a lot going on here, Mayor. I try to respect those who are the focus of such a devious, disgusting, violent act and their decision to handle it as they see fit. That's over here. I cannot see a man who, and we don't know which one of the 6 Black people could have lost their lives. It sounds like all of them were in jeopardy. But one of them, Mr. Dunn, had a son there, just like the old days, right? In America. This is what you're reduced to. This is what you're labeled. And I am on the other side. Black people who are sick of the slow singing and flower bringing, the beautiful churchgoers, South Carolina, who prayed and before they were blown away, spoke kindness and love and forgiveness to their murderous, racist attacker who actually consumed a burger, a flame-broiled burger afterwards. That's America. And if I were on the bench, I'll never be, I would have respected this victim's letter, his stance, Mr. Dunn, wanting forgiveness. But to me, Mayor, forgiveness comes in different forms. You can do the time, let it marinate, which it sounds like is necessary here, and lose something more than 1 year or 85, 90% he'll serve, Mayor. But that's just me. I want to hear you pontificate on this one.
Yeah, I think the idea that this Mr. Dunn, who wrote this letter on behalf of whoever thinks this is a crime against him, I think he misunderstands where we find ourselves in Black bodies in these United States. This is not a crime against him. We heard the FBI agent who was investigating saying the intent of this crime is to invoke fear and terror in everyone, i.e. it's a terrorist act. Therefore, he does not have a say on apology solely. This is what I tell people who try to tell us about protesting when families of murdered ones say, well, you guys shouldn't be protesting. You don't get to name that because this is a collective hurt. This is a crime against all of Black humanity when it happens in this manner. Rosewood, the history of Rosewood does not belong to the folk solely, the 200 families of people that live there. It was about all of us. It was about Blackness, just like this story. And we saw that in this man's response, effing N-word, this, that, and the third. Here's the problem with these Christians who espouse this idea of forgiveness. There was no blind forgiveness from Jesus. If you are a follower of Jesus, please remember that this is a man of different violence. Jesus wasn't physically violent, but he was violent often, righteous indignation. He overturned the money tables when poor people were being done wrong. We don't do that in this country. We're not overturning the system that are doing poor people wrong. He called Peter and He called him Satan. And that's the worst curse word you can call a Christian, especially when it's coming from Jesus. So he cursed the fig tree. He cast animals. So I think people think saying, I forgive you, and that's enough. No, we need accountability for racism. It is a thorn in the side, not the fact that someone is being punished and you let them go unpunished. That is childish. That is not accountability. That is not Christian love. Christian love requires discipline. Spare the rod, ruin the child. Spare the rod, ruin the racist.
And amen. And now you've given us a historical, biblical lesson. Again, it matters here. Now, I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more why certain people can do such horrific things, show no remorse, and be gifted with something they did not earn, to live, breathe sooner, to do it all over again. That's what will happen. And by the way, you're right. It is a crime against all of us with that certain skin tone, not born with white privilege. But I'll submit to people who think it's just a Black problem, because we've seen this before. Had there been a couple of white friends or allies with that group in the woods that day, they would have got it too, for loving those expletives. Just my thought.